Does Contain Nuts, the podcast that grabs life by the balls, is back with another spangling episode. I'm Phil Highland. Lee Hogarth is over there. Last week we spoke to Trevor Hogarth. So apparently
for
down
the
south,
that's got a H in there.
Apparently down
He's not
south,
an ogre.
we don't say our H's, so he thinks it's hilariously funny. I call him Lee Hogarth. But yeah, it's not really that funny at all, is it? You might have heard, if you're listening to this right now, and if you weren't listening, you wouldn't be able to hear me right now, so that'd be weird. But there was another voice just appeared, and it wasn't a man's voice. It was a girl's voice.
Female guest.
I thought my voice was quite deep.
No, we've broken the mold so far, and we've got a girl inside.
I'm not a girl. I'm a woman.
Very good
grown
point.
woman.
A grown woman. So we've got a guest today who's got boobs. She's got long hair. She's got a few tattoos, and she's quite good fun as well, I think. Lee doesn't know who she is. I do know who she is, and she loves willys and fannys. Now, I'm not saying that in a kind of pervy sort of way. She is a physio who specialises in sexual health function. Sarah, is that what you do?
That's exactly what it is.
So she spends her days dealing with
thinking about vaginas and penises, and but actually it's more I'm obsessed. It's more fannies at the moment. I'm seeing
mainly
all the women
fannies. Yeah,
but I'm doing virtual stuff, and I do not make them get their fanny out on film. I can get them to send me just get them to send me a video,
a
vaginal
video.
Pictures. Yeah, it's how I assess these days.
Yeah,
now, do you know what? There's so much that you can do virtually for the pelvic floor without actually sticking your finger in, and it's great because it's like I get to rest this finger.
Yeah, because people aren't.
You get to put it into your eye safely as well.
It's hard work, man.
I will go into this, I think, in a bit, because I think my Geordie friend will be gobsmacked by what you actually do. Before I knew you and knew what you do, I didn't even know this sort of stuff existed. Right?
And that it was a physio thing either. Nobody knows it's a physio thing, and so they go and see their doctor, and the doctor hasn't got a clue. Yeah. And then they're just left with these issues for the rest of their life. And in fact, at some points, they wear it as a badge of honor, like they're pissing themselves when they're running. They're like, "Yeah, I'm pissing myself right now.
Yeah.
I've had kids. What about you?" And it's like, no. That should be a thing. But yeah. I don't only just do fanny physio. I do head to toe physio as well, don't I, Phil? I know about other things too, like shoulders and knees.
You do
indeed.
I could treat your back if you've got
treat my back and my neck, my back.
And your pussy and your crack.
I nearly broke into that song then, yeah, but refrained. Let you do it.
I can do it all.
So her name, which we haven't even said your name yet. Let's just say your name first. Sarah Parker is her name. She's a physio. She can deal with all areas of your body. She deals with sexual health as well and things like that. And we're going to talk about that today, mate, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. I'm really, really interested in this. I'm actually really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think also.
What do you want to know?
Well, there's one thing that I want. So he's got a theory. Talk about your theory.
Here's my theory, right? The reason, this is a personal theory, right? And I'm happy to say this. The reason I come faster is because the fanny's too hot. Now, is that a thing?
What? It's because you can't control it. You have no control.
Stick it in. It's just so fucking warm and nice. Heavenly.
Yeah, but you can have control over that.
Well, that's what I want to know then. I want to know.
You can. You can.
How hot she is.
Control it with your How hot is yours? We had a temperature gauge up. It's about body temperature.
Surely it doesn't change, because we had a bit of an argument, and I was saying to him,
it's body temperature.
Surely it does, like 37 degrees. Yeah, it doesn't. Your core temperature doesn't really change. And he was like, no, it does.
Just get out some friction on your hand, and you could have the same heat.
He said sometimes
solo play.
Sometimes it's warmer than others.
Oh.
Well, sometimes that's just going off memory, isn't it?
Like your dick is a temperature probe.
It could be that actually I'm...
And as you stick it in, you shout out, 40 degrees! Body temperature!
Sometimes it doesn't feel as warm, so it lasts longer.
Yeah, well, it might.
Maybe
just,
that's
I don't
'cause
know. Do you
maybe-
know what? It's just maybe
could
where
be
you
the
are
blood
at with your
flow.
mindset. It's all in your head, isn't it? Everything.
Yeah, and it could be the blood flow, the amount of blood flow to my penis.
Yeah, maybe it's all in your head. Like I read so much books about sexual function, and just blows my mind the stuff that you find out. But it's contextual, isn't it? It's all in your head, everything that goes on. But you can control that by doing pelvic floor work, and you can stay more erect for longer. You can stop yourself from coming as fast. Loads of it is to do. I don't see a huge amount of men, but I've read stuff.
Yeah.
And you can control it with your pelvic floor and with your mind as well. Depends where your head's at.
Mind, like.
It is all in the brain. Everything that happens in our body is like comes through the brain, doesn't it?
Well,
So
we've all been there at some point where you're there and you're like, don't spunk too quick. I really hope I'm good today. I hope I'm good today. And because you're putting so much attention on that and putting so much emphasis on it, you bugger it up, don't you? It's like, bollocks,
thought about it too much.
And then you go into the next time. Yeah. It's the same with anything.
And then the panic's on. Yeah,
and the panic's
exactly.
on. And then and this is, we talk about neurological patterns, don't we, Lee?
Yeah, you create a pattern. You do create a pattern.
It's the same
of course,
like a belief.
You create a pattern. Your body will go, your brain will go for the path of least resistance, right? And so if you've built up this pattern of emotions every time you go into a sexual encounter, I mean, I'm no sexual health clinician, I'm a physio, but you do build up every time you go into something, you'll have the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same, everything will happen, and so you'll follow that same. So you need to cut somewhere in that cycle, cut something, change something, so that you can have a bit more control over it.
Yeah, I know what I need to do, Phil. I need to write.
Go on.
Oh, hold on, everyone sit back, open your ears, because whatever's going to come out of his mouth now is probably going to be a gem. Go.
No, right? Because we know if you want to change a belief, a good way to change a belief or to take out some shit in your head and get it away is to write a letter to the belief on paper, right? That exercise. I could do a letter to the belief that I spunk fast or something.
Yeah, I don't want to bust my nut so quickly. Even if that pum is 42 degrees, I'm going to hold on to that and pleasure her for 10 more minutes.
At least 3.5 minutes this time.
I just say if it's one of those days where the temperature's hot, I just say think fast. You're gonna have to think fast.
So do you really love it, Lee, when it's winter and it's like freezing outside, because there's a higher chance that you're gonna
lasting longer?
Yeah. No, yes, it's finally cold.
Summer months are better. Because if we think about like in winter, their outer body is going to be colder. I'm going to be colder.
Oh,
he's really thought about this. He's really thought this through, man.
It's that difference, isn't it? Touch the skin, cold, pum feels hotter.
Warm.
There you go.
Like an apple pie.
The best time for women to enjoy themselves.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. On that note,
here's what I want to know. Here's 3 things I want to know, right?
Yeah.
How women can stop, like what you were just talking about briefly before, how women can stop pissing themselves when they're jumping up and down and doing exercise. How men can, then pelvic floor exercises you were talking about, so how men can last longer, how they can stay erect longer, and all of those things. And also, I want to know a little bit more about you and your mental health and background and story, and before all of this, like more about you. That's what I want to know.
Shall I start with me first?
Let's start with you. Yeah, let's start with you, because let's do that. I'm interested to know this as well.
Okay, Phil, you know a lot. We talk a lot.
We do have good chats. Yeah, let's go.
So where I'm at. How I got. I started What? With my teens?
Teens? Aye, then. Let me build
So in my teens and my
like,
20s, I, yeah, I was not a very confident person. I was, you know, the person that wasn't confident, that had that outwardly confident thing that would be a bitch.
yeah.
So it would push people away so that they didn't confront you. That was me. I was always the high raised eyebrow girl that no one would ever want to talk to, because I didn't know how to interact with people. And so I just pretend I was pissed off and hated everybody.
But your eyebrows
I did have loads and loads of friends, and they always pointed it out, and I was fine with them. I used to take things so personally. I was not confident at all. And then that kind of carried on throughout my 20s. And then I had a lot of body issues. I had massive body dysmorphia when I was in my 20s. I got massively fat. I put on like 3 stone when I was at university, like going from a skinny teenager to a really fat 20-year-old, traveling around the world and trying to have fun, drunk a lot, and ate a lot. Used to have like Sprites with my Thai curry for breakfast when I was in Thailand. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like sugar. And then I kind of just had enough of it, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So around the end of my 20s, beginning of my 30s, so this is quite new to me, being in such a good place. I
How old
just
are you now,
decided
Sarah?
that
Sorry, how old are you now?
I'm just turned 35 a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And I just didn't want to be like that anymore. And I spend a lot of time with lots of various different people. So I've got a huge group of friends from around here. I'm actually staying at my mum's at the moment. Massive group of friends that I've grown up with, that I've stayed in touch with, but I've also got like branches of other friends, like university friends and people that I've met just doing various things. And I kind of feel like I've picked things that I love about every single one of those people, and I've tried to make it who I am. And because I don't want to be an arsehole anymore. I don't want to be someone that holds on to shit in my head and holds grudges against people or takes everything personally, because it just doesn't serve me at all, and it's a lot of energy wasted. And so I've made, like, last 5 years massive changes to my mental health, and I feel the best I've ever been. And I don't really have a lot, like, I'm kind of jobless at the moment. I'm living with my mum in this bedroom, trying to make content for Instagram. But I found my passion, which is fanny physio, and I'm just running with that, man. And I started physio in 2006. I did it at St George's University in Tooting, 3 years there. That's when I got really fat. And I'm actually reading a book at the moment about fat and how important it is. And I love my body. Like, I went really fat, then I went really skinny. And you remember, Phil, when I first came to the gym, right? I was a vegan. I'd been 10 years veggie, 3 years vegan, skinny as hell. And this fat book is so fucking interesting. It's called The Secret Organ, Fat. And it's
I saw you post about this the other day.
It's blowing my mind. And I know loads about hormones and gut health, and, like, because I've had issues with all of those things throughout my whole entire life, like mental periods and stuff. So made it kind of my life's work to research as much as I can. I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a hormone specialist, but stuff for me, I've made sure that I know, so I can then share it with other people. I don't want to just be a physio that works with your body. I want to have everything, you know. I want to have all the information. I love the human body. It fascinates me. So it's 2006-9, I did physio. Don't know how I got it, if I'm honest with you. I'm not academic in any way, shape or form, but I think because it was a practical thing, right? I was able to kind of flourish in the 6-week practical things that we used to go on placements to hospitals, and that's where my best grades were. And, like, I can talk anyone out of bed, and that's not a sexual thing, that's a physio thing, right? You have to get people doing shit that they don't want to fucking do. So as long as you've got a good rapport with them and you can drag them out of bed and get them walking, going home, then you're kind of 90% of the way there. And then I wanted to quit physio, and because I hated it and didn't know where I was going. I had no vision. I lost my way totally. Moved to America for a year, tried to get my physio license out there, spent all of the money that I'd earned selling my flat that I own with my friend, moving to America, and then came home with nothing. This was like 4 years ago now. Moved back in with my mum and dad, was like dead set on not going back to the NHS. I'm not going back there. And because it was just hard, like banging your head against a brick wall it's like supposed to be patient centered, and it fucking isn't. And it's run by managers that aren't there on the shop floor knowing what's going on, and they pretend they're listening to you and they fucking don't listen to you. And anyway, I was just fed up with that, so I decided to go and work privately as a MSK, so kind of retrain myself really. And then that was 4 years ago, and I've retrained myself as an MSK physio, got into Pilates, reformer. Everything was pointing towards pelvic health for me. Loads of my friends were doing it, and I was like, no way, I am not going to be a fanny physio, mate. And then it just kept on, you know, like the universe, you've got to trust the universe. It kept on bringing shit to me. I couldn't bat it away any longer, and like here I am now. The best passion of my life is this physio and the human body, and I'm trying to put it across in my Instagram and workshops, and just trying to get everyone on board across the world to be able to use their body the best that they can.
Love it.
And yeah, pregnancy is my thing, and mums have forgotten. Try and do men as well, but just everything is coming to pregnancy, postnatal, antenatal, and anyone with any, even if they haven't had kids, pelvic floor issues, has a huge implication on your body. And just from personal experience as well, like I used to wet myself when I was a teenager. Up until maybe 5 years ago, I hadn't been on a trampoline, but I used to wet myself a lot, jumping up and down. I did insanity for the first time when I was in my late 20s. I did 10 fucking high knee jumps, pissed myself in class. I was I haven't had kids, and I'm wetting myself. Like, what the fuck is that? And it happens a lot, and so I'm just trying to spread this.
Do you know what I think?
So yeah, that's me up till now.
Well, I think so. Me and Lee say, and this is just talking about you a little bit and what you said there. Me and Lee say this a lot, don't we, mate? About how once you start finally moving towards something that you know you really want to have or want to achieve or fulfill, everything gets a bit better, doesn't it? Life just becomes a bit easier. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, things just fall into place. You've got to focus. Yeah, you send it out to the universe, like, but you don't have anything that because some people, and I know this from personal experience and also seeing friends struggling, that they have this laser focus, but there's always a but somewhere. And if you ever have a but, then it's not going to happen for you because you don't truly believe it. But when you really, really fucking believe it, and you've got laser focus of how you want your life to look, then it's gonna, like, honestly, the universe will just keep bringing stuff. And it's like, wow, like in the last 2 weeks, you wouldn't understand how my life has changed because I changed my mindset. I thought, and I spoke to you, Phil, maybe about it because we voice note every now and again. And I was saying to everyone, like, people aren't going to want to do physio. People see physio as hands-on massage, right? And they go and they want you to release stuff. And people as well at the moment don't want to spend money on that. It's a luxury. We've got less income at the moment, but there's not many people working. And I just thought to myself, like, that was how it's going to be. Like, I'll keep plodding along and stuff and see what happens, but no one's really going to want virtual sessions physio wise. And then I just saw all of these other people, and I was like, I know people do virtual physio as well. And I've just been on this most amazing female runner course, like Julie Weeb. She's my absolute hero. I'm trying to befriend her on Instagram. I keep texting her.
I do that with girls all the time.
She does respond. She's made virtual physio so accessible for me, and I just changed my mind. I was like, this is stupid, Sarah. Of course people have got money. They're paying, like my friends doing online yoga classes, they're paying for that. I had 14 people at my workshop that I did in April, and more people asking about it. I was like, people have the fucking money, and if they want you, they're going to pay for you. So just shut the fuck up, keep doing it. And in this last 2 weeks, I've had 5 clients alone. I've got 2 mummy MOTs this coming week and 3 normal physio clients as well. Wicked. And yeah, it was literally just a change of mind. I was like, they do have the money, it's out there.
I think what it is like a lot of people like definitely have been affected by what's going on right now. But the people who have been affected are being a lot louder than the people who haven't. Like, there's a lot of people who haven't negatively been affected by this. There's a lot of people who are gaining and benefiting from this situation. And those aren't going to be shouting from the rooftops that they are now making more money. They are now making this. Because one, not to like put down the others who are losing out, but also just so they don't sound like a dick. They just don't. They don't need a voice that they're making more.
But no, who does want to do that these days? People kind of shut up if they're saying, "I'm doing really well, I'm making money," and nobody wants to talk about.
No, they don't. They don't. And people don't like celebrating their little wins either, do they?
No, exactly, because there are people out there, but I don't care. I'm telling people, because the reason why I'm telling people isn't because I want them to realize I'm doing well. I want to tell them so that they can fucking go and do well as well. And I have this conversation with so many people. Even just last night, my friend I was talking to, she's a PT. She was like, "Oh, I can't do anything. I've got my kid at home." And I was like, "Mate, you need to spin that around. You've got your kids. People love seeing that. That's a market you can tap into. It's family PT or using your child as a weight." Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many areas. Oh, I'm not good with technology. Who fucking is good with technology?
Again, it goes back.
Had to learn all of this.
Exactly, and it goes back to what we said at the beginning. Patterns. People run these patterns of, oh, I'm let's say PT, and I'm a PT, and that's it. If I'm not in the gym, I can't do anything else.
Exactly.
I've spoke to so many people who and said to them, look, and they've come to me for some reason, and they've said, "Oh, that's it. Business is fucked now. That's it. I can't. I'm gonna go under." I'm like, well, hold on a sec. What do you do? Well, I'm a PT, aren't I? Yeah, but you're not just. People aren't paying you just to be shown how to do a lunge. They're paying you for you to make them feel good. So how can you transfer that skill into something else that people are still gonna get value from? You know, and it's thinking outside. It's breaking down that pattern of this is what I am, and that's it. You know, it's like you're a physio. But actually, that doesn't mean all you do is lie people on a bed and crack their, sort their legs out. Do you know what I mean? You do other things. You branch out and you can think outside this outside the box.
Yeah. Everyone puts such massive limitations on themselves and doesn't see how transferable every single skill is. And maybe it might take you a day on YouTube learning how to use Zoom or something, but put the effort in. We've got the time now to do that. And it's just seeing that kind of way out. But everyone has this block, don't they, where they're like, well, this is what I've been doing for so many years. Like my friend last night, I'm a class teacher, and I'm like, but people come to you, have 35 people come into your class, not for the class, mate. They come for you.
Yeah, the experience.
They come to see the experience that you give them. So that's the thing. If you are a one-man band, there people are paying for you, not the product that you're selling. And that's what people love these days, don't they? Right? Authenticity is a massive word that they chuck about the place. But that's true. They want to know the person behind the brand that they're buying, and the more you can throw that at them, the more they're going to want to be like, oh, what's she up to, or what's he up to? I want to know, because I really like that person. And then if you keep going and going and going, then they're going to be like, right, I will buy whatever it is that you're selling, because you're great. You're great.
You're great, mate. I also think as well, it's I imagine it's the people that are really struggling now would struggle in other areas. You know what I mean? So let's say, this has happened, it's a massive change. And people aren't adapting to that change. And therefore, if their house gets burgled, they would struggle more than someone who isn't struggling now. Can you see what I mean? It's like it's a real filter that we see the world through.
Absolutely.
People were struggling already with what you say. So a lot of people were struggling with life as it is and as it stands before this happened. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is what's pushing people over the edge. But it's because, like you say, they were struggling in general life as it was, rather than trying to address that, trying to fix that, trying to grow from that. They were just allowing and saying, I'll just struggle, I'll struggle. I don't need money, coming up with all them mad, shitty comments. I don't need this, I don't need that, blah, blah, blah. Now this is hit. It's like shit. And now they don't know how to deal with it because they didn't deal with the small struggles in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've been wanting to change the way that I work for probably the last year and a half now. And kept thinking to myself, there has to be something more. I can't just be patient facing for the rest of my life, and that's the only way that I can make money.
Very draining as well, doing that, right?
Oh,
That's,
it's so draining, and it's always work, reward, work, reward, work, reward. There has to be something better than that, like work, then big reward, constant reward. And so that's where my mindset has been, and it takes a long time to even make something out of that. But at least if you have that thought in your head that this can't just be it, then things will start happening for you. But like you say, Lee, people do get stuck in this kind of funk, don't they? And they're happy plodding along, they've got their little income that they're happy with, and they've got their life that they're in a routine with, and it's safety, right? Safety,
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? I'm not saying there's anything wrong in that.
Oh no, absolutely not.
If your life is, if your head, you're not enjoying life as much as maybe you think you could be, then you might want to have a little think about where you're putting your time and your energy, and what you actually want, right? And are your behaviours and actions and all that taking you anywhere towards it?
Yeah, like these aren't people that are coming to me and saying that they're completely happy with their lives, and I'm saying, well, no, you could do more, you could do more. These people that I'm talking about are people that are coming to me and saying, I need to do more, I want to earn more money, or I'm not doing anything at the moment because I'm whatever they are doing, but I want to be doing it. And so I just give them advice on how I've made it happen, work for me. I'm not a preacher in any way, shape or form. If someone's happy with how they are, then that's absolutely fine. But most of the time people come to me and they say, how have you got where you are? And I'll give them as much advice as I can.
Nice.
I think about like something that I want to touch on what you said there was like, it takes a while, but as long as you got that something in your head, it starts to grow. And it's a bit, Trevor said that the last time, in the previous podcast that we've just done, where he mentioned he's seen a break in his story and he worked on that break until it grew so big that it actually.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a bit like hope, isn't it? Like this break is a bit like hope, isn't it? As long as you've got kind of hope and you've got this little seed, that seed's planted in your brain, you just keep watering that seed, and eventually you're going to get to where you want to go.
But that's probably what happened to you, Sarah. You see that little bit of hope. You started getting into the fanny side of things. Like, hold on a sec, this is quite enjoyable. Quite like doing this. And then you become London's leading fanny physio. And some of the stuff you post, man, is quite fun. Some of it freaks me out a bit. Like there was one where you ages ago where you had your base with clothes on, legs open, and this big plastic fanny in between you, and it kind of looked like a bigger version of that thing there. Oh God, yeah, it's quite weird. And I had to double take it because I was like, is that real? What the hell is that? It's like this big sort of, looks like Predator between your legs.
That wouldn't be warm, Lee.
Yeah. That wouldn't be warm. No, he'd put it in the microwave. But you're very frank, you know, and I think that's what's good about you. You're very, very frank, and you just talk about it as it is. You know, there's no beat around the bush. There's no bullshit. It's just like,
no, I don't beat around the bush. I get right in the bush.
She does not beat around it. She dives right in there.
No, so I mean, like, what's the point in beating around bushes?
Exactly.
And,
so, go on. Sorry.
Oh, I've lost my bladder. Damn.
I thought you fixed it.
No, it's gone down the radiator. It's gone.
Yeah, you want to work on that pelvic floor, mate.
Go on, what were you going to say, Flop?
At the beginning, people are going to want to hear about this, and I know Lee's probably going to want to hear about this, but we could talk about mindset and beliefs and patterns, but really, people want to know about you sticking your finger inside people as part of.
Oh yeah, that was the other question. So I was doing this thing called mummy MOT. I am doing mummy MOTs, but I also see people for other various pelvic health issues as well. And the thing that how I would measure test the muscles of the pelvic floor is doing a digital examination. But now I've realized that all of this, you can make so much difference without actually having to go indoors. And actually it's quite empowering for people to realize that they can make changes without having to physically be with someone, and training them on how to train their own body, and how they can then take that forward for the rest of their lives is just so much better than having them feel like they need to keep coming back to physio. Yes, they might need something, or if they're doing something new, and they need more advice for that, then yeah, come and ask me for advice. But if you can give people ways to manage their own, it's their own vessel, right? They shouldn't have to need to come to see people all the time. And that's what I'm trying to do now with my virtual sessions, is give them ways and means to carry it on forever. And having to stick my finger in someone's fanny to test their muscles, just, it's becoming a bit obsolete now. And I'm making changes without doing that.
But that is the bizarre thing. I think there'll be a lot of people out there, and I don't mean to keep going on about this, who didn't even think that there would be treatment that would involve that happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, people don't realise that. And that's why when they go to the doctors for advice on things like this, the doctor, if they don't know that there's women's health physios out there, or most of the time with the NHS, they don't have the funding for that area in wherever they are, so they won't get sent, and then they won't say, "I'll go and seek help from a private physio," because they might not know that that's a thing. Or they might, most of the time doctors say at their 6-week check, "Well, you've had a baby, what do you expect?" And so women just go away and think that that's what they're resigned to for the rest of their lives. But that's unfortunately a thing that's happened with women for absolutely ever. You know, we are the ones that give birth, well, we can if we want to, and that involves pain and massive body changes and all the hormones that are raging around our bodies ever since puberty, that people just think that's what we should be expected to experience throughout our lives, is pain and body issues and being hormonal.
So what you're saying there, that GPs don't know that there's fanny physios?
Some of them, yes. Some of them will just say, "Oh, you're leaking urine, what do you expect?" And they won't say, "Well, here's a really good physio that you should go and see." And your pelvic floor is like any other muscle in the body, and going through a pregnancy journey is such a humongous change to the body. It's like if you went and had shoulder surgery or knee surgery or hip surgery, you would see physio and you would have at least 6 months rehab. Whereas women are going through 9-month body change, everything being stretched, then whatever their birthing journey is, and then all the changes after that, and then they're expected to just get on with it. And it blows my mind. Like, how the hell did people come up with this
quite mental
journey?
When you actually think about it like that.
Yeah. And 9 months of carrying a child, and then it takes a year for bodies dependent on breastfeeding to go back to normal baseline. And women are just picking up at 6 weeks sometimes and just doing HIIT workouts. You know, because they just want to get back. And obviously social media is like, get your pre-baby body back in 10 weeks or whatever. And it's not fucking realistic, man. And there's no one shouting about it loud enough, and it pisses me off. And everyone's so aesthetic at the moment, isn't it? And I get loads of women really having a bad time with like diastasis, and that's where your 6-pack abs, they part in the middle to allow room for the baby. And actually it happens to men as well, so it's not just women. If men get a big belly, it can happen too. But it just is, there's the line down the middle of your belly that joins your muscles together is there so that when you your belly grows, that they can part to allow for room. And obviously
fascia, is that a fascia muscle? Is that just fascia in between?
Linea alba,
the linea alba, it's a connective tissue, and it's the same for men and women. Obviously men and women, we're exactly the same, we're just made up differently, right? And they don't get rid of stuff because it's nature's lazy, and so it can happen to men as well. But the thing with the women that go through pregnancy and birth and then have this diastasis after is an aesthetic thing. And it's the one thing I ask women whenever they ask me about the gap in their tummy is, what is it that you're having trouble with, and what is it that you want your body to be able to do? Because sometimes those gaps won't come back together, and if it's an aesthetic thing, then that's a whole different ball game, right? To wanting to be able to do HIIT workouts or go for a run again. If you're looking at your body and you hate it, then then it's, you know, it's a whole different kettle of fish. And this is what women are just left with, not knowing how to deal with it.
With pregnancy, is it a lot of, can you generalize what typically happens to women, or is every single woman's journey totally different?
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's like with anything, isn't it? Like the way that you would respond to something, somebody else won't respond to it the same way. And therefore the treatment that you will respond to well won't work for somebody else. And so everything that you do is individual. Nothing with the human body is a one size fits all. And that's where these get your body fit in 10 weeks or get your abs or your bum in 10 weeks. It doesn't fucking work, man. And I'm listening to this fat book. It's honestly, it's amazing. Everybody is so individual. The hormones that are produced by your body or your glands, or your fat even produces hormones. The amount of fat cells that you have in your body is different. Everybody's different. And so the way that you respond to things is going to be totally different. And you can't just follow a one size fits all with anything to do with the human body. But that's unfortunately the way that medicine is, right? And they just kind of put all of the areas of the body into groups, and then they're like, right, these are the parameters we're working with, and then that means you're healthy. It's like, doesn't fucking work like that. Like, honestly, you should read that fat book, actually, because it talks about even diets and stuff like that, and how like they've done loads of research on diets, and how they have a group of people doing the same thing, exercise diet wise, and different in different ways, and the difference that they experienced in their bodies was unbelievable. So you can't just be like, here's your diet, like whatever diet it is, and it's going to work for you. It's not going to work for everybody. Yeah.
Lee, was you going to say?
There you go.
So it's the same with pregnancy. Like their body will be, and it depends on, you know, your collagen makeup as well. Like some people got more lax collagen than others, like hypermobility and EDS and stuff like that. And it's your body's going to respond completely differently and have a different outcome postnatally. And so we'll need an individual treatment. Definitely.
I reckon my collagen levels are low, because look what I can do with my head.
Yeah,
discovered that the other week. Like stretchy skin.
Yeah, I'm hypermobile too, but my hypermobility is different to my friends that are hypermobile and their hypermobility, you know, like there's a scale of rating scale of hypermobility, but from one person to the other, that is even individual as well. So yeah.
Where does a woman start? Like what, she's just had a kid, like what does she need to start looking at? What does she need to start thinking about?
What, in terms of getting better, or in terms of recovery?
Like recovery, like strengthening everything up, and like or do they need to start thinking about it whilst they're still pregnant? Do they need to start doing?
Do you know what? I wanted to, because I would like to get women either way before they think about having a kid or during their pregnancy journey, because the things that you do during your pregnancy will affect you massively after when you give birth, because it's those patterns, isn't it? Your brain's going to remember 9 months of patterns that you've taught yourself in order to get around with maybe a really huge bump and your abs aren't working properly, and trying to get your body out of the way for the baby growing inside of you. Maybe your glutes have switched off, or you've really stiffened through your trunk, because they tell lots of women not to rotate during pregnancy. And then you'll just carry that on, because again, brain path of least resistance will go for whatever you've taught it, and then it doesn't take long for your brain to learn patterns, which is the most fascinating thing for me as well. But then it doesn't take long to unlearn those patterns as well, and that's why doing telehealth and virtual sessions is actually, it works, because you just need to train your brain, and all come back to the bloody brain.
So when the time comes, you're literally ready to rock. You've got no changes.
At least you've got just not as much. Exactly. And even just being in tune with your own body and knowing your pelvic floor will help you massively with your birth as well, like breathing properly, being able to feel what's going on down there, so you can train yourself then throughout if you are having a vaginal birth, you can help that process, and along with your breath and your pelvic floor control, to aid you in guiding the baby down the vaginal canal as well. And And muscle memory, yeah, your muscles have got actual memory. So if you're training and then after something happens, it's easier for your brain to pick up, access those parts of your body again, because the memory's there, because you were doing it for such a long time.
Well, you learn the movement patterns, haven't you? Your body remembers
the neurological pathways are there. You've got the access to it in your brain. The brain knows the muscle is there. It just needs a little bit of a wake up. And so even if you've had a cesarean section and they've cut through all the layers of your abdomen, you can re-pick up those pathways again, because you've accessed them before, and you're just reteaching again.
Nice. Just going back, if we just want to, I just want to just thought of something then, going off this topic a little bit, but we can come back here if you want. Earlier you were saying about you had these body dysmorphia issues when you was younger, right? I've seen videos of you now, of you doing your little dancing and everything else. Okay, so obviously those issues aren't there anymore, right? No. I've watched those many a time. So those issues kind of aren't there anymore. Was there anything, because guys guys get these body issues as well, right? Yeah. It's not just girls. Was there anything that was sort of instrumental in that change? Did anything just happen and you all of a sudden change, or was it a gradual thing? Or was there anything that you think helped to get over the issues that you had, or not?
I just wanted to not hate myself anymore and not want to be like everybody else. I was like, I'm me, that I can't get away from myself. Why do I want to look like other people or be like other people? I'm my own person, my own style, my own thoughts, and that's enough. And that was my thing for ages. I'm enough. I'm enough. Yeah, like, nice. Why do I want to be like anybody else?
How hard did you try to manipulate your body in order to be happy? Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of people think, right, I hate my body, so I'm just going to get really skinny or really ripped or whatever, and then I'll be happy. Do you know what I mean? Did you go down that route for a long time and think, fuck this is not working?
Yeah. Oh, massively. I lost so much weight. It took a really, really long time, but I practically starved myself. I was barely eating anything. It was really bad. I was living in a flat with my friend at the time, and we went traveling to Thailand, and they were all really worried about me because I just lost so much weight and I just wasn't putting anything into, and everything that I ate, I would just be really cautious of what was going into my mouth. Like, I didn't do any diets or any calorie counting or anything like that, but I knew the things that could potentially make me bigger, and so I would avoid it. And I'd make excuses as to why I was avoiding it. Like, I wouldn't eat any carbs, like no carbs. I'm not having any potato because it bloats me. And that's what my excuse was to everyone. It bloats me, and so I'm staying away from it. And so I just ate less and restricted myself massively. Tried to exercise as much as I could. And then, lost loads of weight. And then became vegan, lost even more. Like, I was so skinny, man. And this fat book that I'm listening to, just like, wow, how relatable it was to me, and the reason why I didn't do well as a vegan. I
think the reason you stopped being vegan though is because when I first met you, you said, "Oh, hi, I'm Sarah," and I looked at you and I thought, "I bet she's vegan." So I said, "Are you vegan?" And you said, "Yeah, kind of." And I was like,
yeah. So I was on a slippery slope out of veganism when I met you, and then it was that Christmas that I had my first burger in Amsterdam, and after doing loads of mushrooms, I was like, burger, and oh mate, mushrooms, yeah, and that was life changing too, and I just I was fed up with thinking so much about what I was eating.
I think a lot of people do that. I think especially now in this time, I'm not just having a go at vegans at all, but in the diet, people spend so much time, man, obsessing and worrying about, they're like, oh, it's healthy, it's unhealthy eating meat. I'll tell you what's unhealthy, mate, obsessing about every fucking morsel that you stick in your mouth. That is worse.
And that was my thing. Like, I just got so tired about thinking about the thing that is supposed to give me sustenance in life. And I was obsessing over it. Like, every single meal, I would spend the whole of my Sundays making my breakfasts, lunches and dinners, preparing it all for the week, and I just was exhausted. And I couldn't put any energy into anything else, and that's not my life. I'm not a like food person. I'm not a chef. I don't want to share what I eat with. I never share what I eat with people on my social media, because I just think it's really unhealthy obsession to have with stuff that you're eating. And that, you know, like people do it, whatever, that's fine, you can do it. But just because of my issues with food, I now don't share what I eat. I just don't want people to have any notion of what they should and shouldn't be eating. Eat what the fuck you like.
Yeah, the only times I will sometimes share things, because obviously I train quite a lot. I'm in relatively decent shape, and I think some people look at me and think I must just eat rabbit food all the time, and I very much do not eat rabbit food the whole time. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes it's quite important to make people say, do you know what, mate? Sometimes I'll smash a massive pizza. I ate a whole pot of bloody Ben and Jerry's the other day on my own, just sat there sweating for an hour afterwards. But I loved it. And then you tell them, they're like, wow, you don't eat that, do you? I do eat that, mate. Yeah, I do eat it. I have too many gin and tonics and pear ciders last night and the night before.
Oh, mate, yeah, alcohol, massive issue for me. As soon as I start drinking, I put on a lot of belly fat. And I probably drunk every day for the first 3 weeks of quarantine, not lying. Every single day. And now I had loads of fun with my family. I love my family. But yeah, I've had such issues with food and body image that now I don't want it to be a thing in anything that I do, like particularly on my social media. And if people say stuff to me, I try as much as I can not to engage or try and change their minds about it, because it's not a healthy thing to have in your head, is what you're obsessed about eating. And it's been a really hard one for me, right? Because I've grown up in a house. Can't talk too loud because my mum's out there somewhere. She's obsessed with diet and fat, and that's what I've grown up with, right? And that's where it all came from, is her obsession, and it still goes on now, whether she's fat, what she should be eating, and obviously her mindset about fat is really old-fashioned. Is if you eat fat, you get fat. And it's like, oh, I have to really like.
And it's no surprise though you had a few issues. Do you know what I mean? Because that's where you create patterns again. It's all
exactly. It's what you learn.
It's almost
all in the brain.
Almost like we should start paying a bit more attention to our mind, isn't it? Wow. Yeah. Maybe we're right.
Yeah, this is it. It's all patterns that you learn and stuff you pick up, and when you're a kid, you mimic what you see and hear the most, right? And so I had massive body issues. I was going to the gym like every single day when I was 14. I was so skinny, man. Yeah, so skinny. Like imagine teenager at the gym, running.
Good technique. That. Where'd you learn that?
Yeah, I taught it to myself. Self-learned.
A self-taught running technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. How's that working out for you?
Not well. I can't run. I've got
I've got bad.
But do you know what I wanted to come back to, because I didn't answer your question, Lee, about where women should
I butted in there. Sorry, go
on. Massive butthead.
Yeah, sorry.
So the first thing that I teach everybody that comes into my clinic, whether it's for postnatal or whether it's just someone wanting to sort their shoulder out, I look at their breathing and how they're breathing, where they're breathing from, and I get them breathing. And it helps with getting you into parasympathetic, so calming down your nervous system. If you've got any pain, then it's going to help with pain. It means that it means your diaphragm's moving. If your diaphragm's moving, it means your pelvic floor is moving. So it might be a good thing for you, and you're coming in 60 seconds, is to start breathing properly and get your pelvic floor lowering and lifting a little bit.
Hang on, love. Hang on a minute. Let me just.
What are you doing there? Belly breathing.
I'm just belly breathing for a sec.
Belly breathing, yeah.
And yeah, I get people breathing a bit more efficiently and effectively in and out of their belly. Get their diaphragms moving, get there. Do you know the other thing as well with body dysmorphia is you're constantly gripping with your abs, right? And that's what a lot of women do, is hold their belly in. And that is what led me to be weeing myself when I jumped up and down, is because I was always holding my bloated belly in. And when you hold your belly in, your diaphragm can't really your diaphragm's moving up and down still when you breathe, but your contents of your abdomen's got nowhere to go, so the pressure goes through the pelvic floor, and that's why you wee yourself. And so I always tell people to breathe and let go of their tummy. And I'm actually going to do a post about it, because there's loads of body posy shit going about on the internet at the moment, but I want mine to be useful. Like, why are you letting go of your belly? Because your body needs you to, like your core needs you to. You're not going to be able to be moving correctly if you're gripping on with your abs all the time. And it's a lot of PPTs and yoga instructors give the cue, and even I was one of those people before when I was doing Pilates, reformer Pilates. I'd give the cue, like, draw on your abs, engage your core and all of that, and actually you're doing your body a disservice by holding in your tummy all the time.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I do. Let go of your tummy and breathe in and out through the nose. Then you get diaphragm a little bit more, and then you can start working up, building back up to whatever the goals are, really.
Is this to stop them like pissing themselves on the train as well?
Yeah, that. Stop weeing yourself, let the pelvic floor do its job, do what it's meant to be doing, and that's giving you core stability, and you shouldn't have to do it because your brain knows how to do it. I don't know why we always think we know better than our bodies.
Yeah.
And so we interrupt all of these amazing processes that they've already got going on, that you learned from when you were trying to walk when you were a baby. And then we're like, no, hang on a minute, I think I know better. I'm going to really squeeze my pelvic floor and my abs every time I move. It's like, no, just let it do its job now.
However, I would just add to that, and you might may disagree, but if you were, for example, going on a big ass back squat or a deadlift or a big lift, you have to brace yourself, right? You have to still brace your core.
Depends how heavy you're lifting, right? Depends how heavy. It really does depend how heavy you're lifting. And yes, if you're an Olympic weightlifter, then you might need to hold your breath too. And the only reason why you do that is because when you hold your breath, you give your lumbar spine more stability through the pressure that you're building up in your tummy. But if you're struggling with a weight and you feel you need to breath hold and you feel you need to brace, then you need to retrain, take it back down and build back up. It might be too much for you. And it's the same with wearing those lumbar belts as well. I've listened to so many podcasts and stuff about bracing and breath holding and stuff with weightlifting, and there's a physio called Anthony Lowe. He's the physio detective, and he works a lot with powerlifters. Yeah. And oh wow, man, that man's brain is just unreal.
Really? What's his name?
Anthony Lowe, the physio detective. Really interesting. About breath holding and wearing waist, you know, those lumbar belts.
What I do if I'm doing like a 3-rep max squat, I'll wear a belt to brace against. But that's because of only.
I do that as well. Like
what I know. Only when I'm going on a real.
When I feel safe, and then I'll put a belt on
the top whack.
When I feel a bit
weaker. Yeah, and maybe you do need that, but I mean. It depends what you want out of it.
It's interesting learning all different things.
When you're squatting down there, a lot of it you're forcing glute activation and stuff like that, and it takes it a bit away from your core, doesn't it? A bit of where you're squatting and you're driving up. It takes a bit of you're putting a lot of emphasis on your glutes and your legs as you're driving up. It takes a little bit away from your core. Yeah,
I think it's just having a belt to brace against, because I know a lot of people use those belts wrong in my experience. You see guys in there doing a 5-kilo bicep curl and a bloody belt on, and they're putting the belt on and the belt's all wobbling around because they're putting their tummy in, and it's like, what are you doing that for, mate? It's it's there to push out against.
Pressure. Yeah, absolutely, and that's obviously that's not my area of expertise, but go and listen to that podcast.
Yeah, definitely. What was it?
Belts. Really interesting. So
Alexander.
Anthony Lowe, L-O, he's an Australian guy. He actually works a lot with pelvic health as well. But his podcast is called the Women's Health Podcast, him and another physio. And it's obviously pelvic health, but he talks about the belt wearing, I'm sure. And it's really fascinating.
I do think as well, with things like running, and you see people on the cross trainer, I hate the cross trainer, pulling their tummy, that's not the time to be squeezing everything, you know what I mean?
There's no time for that. There's no time for that. And people even like picking their baby up from the floor will hold their breath breath hold or I'll brace. And it's like, you don't need to brace. There's no need. You're not an Olympic weightlifter. Why are you bracing?
Interesting.
So going back to pissing yourself.
Yeah.
What else can you do other than breathing?
Well, breathing will probably get you there, and then getting a bit more in touch with your pelvic floor, so being able to control it with your brain and your breath. I always teach breath with pelvic floor activation, and then slowly grading up the intensity of the exercise that you're doing to whatever goal it is. Like, say your goal is to be able to run your every other day or daily 5k, then that's a really high intense exercise, right? And a lot of women leak and stuff with that. It would be doing exercises working up to that, so doing body weighted stuff where you're counterbalancing gravity so that the pelvic floor is able to react and respond to the pressure that it's going through, but in graduations. And usually we do like a 3-month rehab of various graduated exercises up to that point of where you're doing stuff where you're putting lots of pressure through your pelvic floor, like skipping or jumping or shuttle runs. But it'll be like a HIIT workout.
For my clients is that it's like they're jumping, opening up with the legs, say star jumps and things.
Yeah, massive, because the adductors, the muscles of the inner thigh, have a really, really close relationship to the pelvic floor, right? And if pelvic floor isn't able to go through its stretch and contract cycle, then adductors will help. And then you're opening your legs and you're putting those adductors on a stretch as well, and they're just like, woof. And I hear that a lot. Like, women lose control when they're doing a straddle leg forward fold in yoga. And it's that kind of close relationship of adductors and pelvic floor. And so, yeah, I always teach people about myofascial lines and the fact that your pelvic floor is connected all the way up to your jaw and your head, through your heart, diaphragm, and then pelvic floor down through the legs and into the feet. Like, it's all connected. And so...
so how could you strengthen that then? What would you...
So I would say, if people are struggling with jumping jacks, start them in a plank and do a plank jack, and then you're not putting any pressure through their pelvic floor. And they need to do it with breathing. So inhale, exhale, just not even thinking about pelvic floor. Just make sure that they're breathing properly, and they're not gripping with their belly. And then you can just graduate it up, have their hands on a chair, jumping jacks on a chair with the breath, belly's relaxed, pelvic floor's working, and then coming up into standing, and then usually it should sort itself out. But for the most part, it's people aren't breathing properly and they're gripping with their abs.
Would that be the same for like so jumping up and down? Would you say going to like mountain climbers sort of position?
Yeah, like you do like a mountain climber or something like that, or you can train the jump without actually jumping. So get your body prepared for the jump by initiating the jump, and you're just putting the pelvic floor through a little bit of a pressure.
So don't even leave just go.
So like whatever it is that they're trying to do and they're struggling, bring it back, like break down that activity that you're doing, and then give them the easiest part, and then keep working up to whatever the hardest part of that activity is. Like if it's running, for example, you'll get them into a lunge, right, and start doing some running looking like exercises in a lunge, and then just keep increasing the intensity until you're doing single leg hops on one leg, and they're not leaking, or they've got good stability, because running is just jumping from one leg to the other essentially, isn't it? So so start with the breathing.
Start with the breathing
and then work your way up.
End of sentence. How about because I've heard that you can strengthen your pelvic floor just by stopping yourself going for a wee.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, man. That's wrong, is it?
Yeah, it's bad, because again, what are you?
I don't mean when you're actually going for a wee, but imagine you're squeezing the muscles.
Like doing the pelvic floor
exercise.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. For women, it's holding a fart, holding a wee, and for most part, men work from front to back. So I always say holding a wee, holding a fart. And that's how you can feel like you're getting that control over your pelvic floor, like I'm doing it right now. Don't actually stop yourself weeing midstream.
No, I didn't mean that.
You're just teaching your brain a pattern, and then.
So hold a wee, hold a fart.
Yeah, that's how you can feel. But lots of people, research has showed that actually a high percentage of people push down as opposed to squeeze up.
Really?
And
hands up, anyone listening to this who's actually doing that right now.
Yeah,
doing it right now.
And well, for men, it's nuts to guts, right? Like lift your
suck your nuts up.
Suck your nuts up, or imagine you're walking into cold water and you don't want your balls to hit the water, so you just pull them up, and then you'll get that
to
lift.
Stop yourself leading away, you mean?
So,
yeah.
Hello. Oh no, we've lost her. Where's she gone? Batteries died.
Headphones have died.
Headphones have died.
Oh, I lost you for a minute there. That was really weird.
Oh God, we're back.
It said call. It went call ended, and I was like,
no, it hasn't. The call is still here, bastard.
What were you saying?
We're talking about sucking your balls up.
So what was that for? What was the sucking the balls up for? Where most people...
That's pelvic floor.
Instead of squeeze. What was that?
Pelvic floor
strengthening. Well,
yeah.
When you go through pelvic floor strengthening with people, a high percentage will push down as opposed to pull up, and you don't want to be bearing down through your pelvic floor on a regular basis. And so that's why most people like to come in and actually have their pelvic floor checked internally to make sure they are getting that proper lift and lower. But actually, if you just teach people how to breathe properly, then their pelvic floor will go through a stretch and contract on its own without you having to mentally think about it. But some people do need the encouragement because they've lost that brain pelvic floor connection. And so working with the breath and getting them to do the lifts with it will then teach your brain that every time you breathe, it should go up and down. So some people do need that extra input.
I'm assuming as well, because something a lot of men struggle with, and I for some reason, a picture of some toilets that I've been doing have got the saying where you get man pads now to stop you, like to catch your dribbles and what have you. So
tenor.
So do you know what I mean? Tenor for men or whatever. Now, I'm assuming that same breath work it would help and assist men who dribble, or like as you get older, men dribble in the pants and stuff like that.
Dribble.
Yeah, it is dribbling though, but it really depends though, because of the prostate and where the prostate sits underneath the bladder, and that has a huge implication on how you have control over what's coming in and out of your urethra, and so it really depends what's going on there for men. But yeah, having good pelvic floor brain pelvic floor connection will really help, and breathing and letting go of tummies. And men have the same issues as women do. They can have a over recruited pelvic floor, and that would also show as having leaking as well. So it really depends. It's all so individual.
But I think that in any way, just in general, to people hearing that there's stuff you can actually do, I think it's going to help a lot of people.
And I want to put tenor out of a business, man. Like, people shouldn't be dribbling. People shouldn't be leaking. Like, no. Annoys me. It's just like putting a pad-sized plaster on everything.
Yeah.
Stick that on your fanny. Yeah.
Shut up. Sarah, this has been very good fun. I think how we're doing for time, because we could talk forever about this. It's fascinating stuff, and I think
we'll wrap it up on that bombshell of sticking fanny pads and everything.
Sarah, give us 3 tips. Give us 3 tips about anything that can help anyone improve their life in some way, shape, or form. Tips on anything you want to say. Go.
Breathing. Number 1, always breathe properly. Let go of your tummy. Breathe through your nose. Let your belly rise and fall. And if you want to look more into it, it's actually on my Instagram, highlights breathing.
Good.
Sarah Parker Physio.
Good. We'll put a link on here in a minute.
Cool. And then 2.
Hard this when you put on the spot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really hard.
What would come out of your mouth?
So 2, if you are into like watching the news or going on Instagram or on Facebook, make sure you curate what is going into your head.
That's a wicked tip.
And it can be really positive. If you do that and don't have any of the shit that triggers you, just get rid of it, and then you'll have more spaces between the triggering, and a bit more healthy stuff going in your brain, and people that you can aspire to be, and then finding your what it is that you can bring to a situation. Because like I said before, like, you're your own brand, you're your own person, you don't want to be like anybody else. Absolutely no way. You've got your own amazing body, your own amazing brain, and your own amazing thing that you're passionate about, and you can do whatever you want with that, and not worrying about anybody else.
Love it. I knew you'd come good on the 3 tips. I threw that in as a curveball at the end and it nearly stumped you. After this, Lee's going to say, don't ask that question at the end, mate, because it just puts people on the spot.
No, do. It's really good. It actually makes you think, and I liked it.
Good. I've liked this interview. Have you liked it, Lee?
I certainly have.
Have you had a nice time, Sarah?
A lovely time.
I've had a bloody lovely time, love. A lovely, lovely time. It's been very nice. Thank you.
Can we stay here and talk more?
Yeah, we'll end it. I know we don't need to end it yet. I can stop recording. We'll do that in a sec. Anyway, I've been Phil Highland.
Lee Hogarth.
She's not even watching.
Sarah Parker.
Oh, you messed up the rotation, Sarah. She's Sarah Parker. We'll put a link to her Instagram page.
I was looking at my hairy legs.
Looking at her hairy, bloody legs. Jesus. We'll put a link to her page, guys. Go and check it out. If you're a guy, check it out. If you're a girl, check it out. Because everyone's going to benefit from it. She talks very frankly and openly about some quite funny things. So check it out. Anyway, till next time. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.